Hello, everybody. Welcome to Comic Strip Illustration Masterclass, Week 4, Finishing Touches with cartoonist Jeff Wilson. So here we are. It's the end of our 4-week journey. Really excited to be able to get in depth in the comic strip creation with Jeff, and I hope everyone's been enjoying it. I'll put Jeff's email up again after. You can reach out to him as you've been exploring this and following along. And by joining us here, you have access to the previous 3 weeks. So if this is your first week here, don't worry. You can rewatch all of weeks 1, 2, and 3 in the same link. It's all archived. And then in a couple weeks' time, we'll have everything on our YouTube channel as well. So you can continue watching it there as well. But you have access right here. You're here. You're now. And we can do this. So just want to thank all our partners in this project. So we have the Canada Council for the Arts. We have the Blue Mountains Public Library, Collingwood Public Library, Wasaga Beach Public Library. And all of these libraries, we have digital arts computers that will be available now as everything opens up. So there's 2 iMacs in each library, so feel free to go and check them out. You can access the Affinity publisher, photo, and designer, so the same as like Illustrator. So you can do some graphics work there as well. And in the coming months and or weeks, we'll be going to some sort of physical workshops, we hope, in the fall, and then we'll start to see there. But yeah, just want to again, thank everyone for joining us. In terms of the software we've been looking at in these sessions, we've been looking at the Procreate software, again, a low-cost app that you can buy for the iPad or iPhone. And Jeff is demoing and using an iPad Pro with an Apple Pencil, so that's a great tool. And some of those are available with, we have an iPad Pro with an Apple Pencil at the Blue Mountains Public Library. So if you're a member there, you have a library card, you can just take it out, and it has Procreate software on it. So that's really exciting. And the Collingwood Public Library also have 2 iPads there set up with Apple Pencils and Procreate too. So it's really access is available. So we hope you guys can access those as well as we go through this. So without any further ado, I'm going to pass it over to Jeff. Here we go, Jeff.
And thank you again, Tom. And it's great to be here. It's great to have everyone here. And again, we thank all our partners. I thank the libraries for being involved in this. I mean, my education has been a lot of it has been to do with libraries, and for not just for this, but for many different things that I've done in my life. And I'm very thankful to you libraries out there who have been part of this, and thank you for making this possible for the folks that are watching. So I'd like today to talk about finishing touches. So I'm sure you've all been working on steadily on your projects and creating your features and developing your characters and developing your style, and that's all part of the journey. It's very necessary to go into those steps, but when you're going on the journey, you will have the odd slow down or break down or whatever on the way. So it's just the nature of the beast, and we're going to get into that a little later on. I wanted to start today by talking about lettering, which we have been doing, I think, in the strip by typing typing it in, and it's great. It sure makes my work faster, and it looks better than my hand lettering would. But there's something to be said for hand lettering. It's a real skill, a real craft, and I want to share with you what I learned, because I, of course, started back in the day when we didn't have iPads. We didn't have I think when I started, computers were things that took up entire rooms. The first one I remember was one that took up almost an entire floor in my high school. And that was for the computer in business class that was in the school. And I thought, this is computers. This is going to make our life easier and better. This thing that's taking up the whole room. Anyway, it was an education to me, and things, of course, changed. And now what filled that half a floor of my high school back in 1975 fills a portion of my cell phone today. So it's incredible. The exponential growth of technology it's made our lives easier and I hope better. It certainly changed them. Let's put it that way. There's no real evidence that it's made it better, but it certainly has changed our lives. We've certainly had to adjust, and it's life is life. You deal with what you're given, right? You make if you life gives you lemons, you make lemonade, as the old saying goes. So let's go into the session here. I'm just going to move my camera up here, and I'm going to switch over to my iPad here. Just to cheat the angle here, so we're a little better here, so we can see what we're doing. So again, we have our title page here for today's lesson, and we're going to get right into it. So I'm going to just take down our title page here, and I will open up one of our templates here, the cartooning template here. So that's this 2-panel one, which is kind of a good for this lesson. Now for lettering, to do lettering, you need to have a template. You need to have like a guideline. So what I have done here, I'm just going to zoom in on the screen here, and I'm going to open up a new layer. So I didn't name the layer, but basically this is what I'm going to aim to put my lettering in here. So what I've done is I've created these little gray lines on a separate layer. So this will be my, so I can take that out to show you what I do here. So that will show you that that's your guideline for this particular part of the lesson. So as you do the lettering, your goal is to use that as a guideline anyway. You will go out over top of it sometimes, and sometimes you won't, but the goal is to use it as your guideline. And I'm going to create this balloon, these word balloons where the words are going to go into. So I'm giving myself a little bit of buffer space here so that the words will be close to not too close to the edge of the balloon. That's very important, not to crowd your balloons with text. Although I've done it all. I've made all the mistakes as a cartoonist that you could ever do, and that's so this is a very visual thing. It has more to do with the visual thing than the writing part of it. And as I've told you, the writing is probably the most important part of what you're doing, like writing not writing lettering, but writing the jokes. But certainly the way your lettering style looks, it is very important too. As long as it's legible, the spaces between the letters are good, and it's attractive looking. So what I'm going to do now is create a new layer for my. Let's see. Let's go back here to layers. Create a new layer here. So I touch that plus sign here. Create a new layer for. I'm just going to rename this lettering or text. Let's call it text. Oops. Let's call it text. So this is a whole layer. This is what we're going to be using here. So I'm going to get my color tool here and take away all the other colors. I want true black. So I've got it at 100% black here. And I'm going to find my calligraphy tool here. And we look at all the tools you have here. Monoline is the one I was planning to choose, and I might still go with that. Your script here, that's a lovely one too. We can try that one too. So let's try to create some lettering. Let's just write something generic here. I love. Here, oh, I just been having a bit of trouble with it. I don't like it. I can do this now. I can do this with this pen because, but back in the day, I could not do this. I would have to get my whiteout out or before I even set pen to paper, make absolutely certain that was the thing I was going to put down. Love rainy days. So this is basic lettering here. This is basically just a cartoony lettering that I've developed over the years. This isn't something that that anybody really taught me. This is basically what I saw, what I liked in other people's work, and I would develop this particular style. So we're going to now take away um, that guideline there, and you can see that it looks pretty even, pretty good. The guide worked very well, and that's, back in the old days I would have done the lettering with a light board. I would have probably had a light underlit so that I could see um, the template underneath it. I had a template page. I could show you, but it's just basically a sheet with lines on it, and I would put it under my page, my final artwork, and I would just use it as a guide. So it really pretty unscientific, but it saves you a lot of trouble, and and you can do different styles here too. Let's even write in a different type of lettering here. I always like to, when I did my average farm strip, I had um, the grandmother character was the local newspaper correspondent, and which was always fun for me because I worked at a weekly newspaper, and we had at the time, it's not true anymore, but at the time we had a lot of correspondents who would contribute news every week, and it was your typical Bob and Alice visited Art and Sally this week, and um, the occasion was Sadie's 80th birthday, and everyone had a great time. It would be something very basic, but for people who lived in the town and knew all these people, that would be like, oh, that's what they did this weekend. So it was a lot of fun, and it was that particular character was the grandmother. Would have been totally this type of person that would have enjoyed that sort of thing, and to have her as the local correspondent made it a lot of fun. And there was so many of my favorite versions of the strip were of that, and I would do it like type, so it would be as I said. Let's delete that Earl and Sadie. So I basically do like you would see in a newspaper, and then I had adapted this part of my style where I would use the typewriter style letters. So I'd studied my typewriter, which I had at the time. I had an Underwood an Underwood typewriter, Brentwood, I think it was. I can't remember. Anyway, the name escapes me because it was so long ago. Let's see. So I developed a way of doing the A's, which was a lot of fun. It doesn't have to be perfect. It try to make it as good as you can, of course, but I always thought it was fun for the people to look at. It was certainly fun for me to look at lettering that was a little imperfect, that wasn't quite right. It was a little unusual. So I had a lot of fun with that. And you can even take it further. You can have different characters with different fonts or with different types of writing. You can do an italic thing for some parts of it, where the letters are kind of leaning one direction. And it may be good for certain types of comics that you're doing, or as I say, you could do it. Different characters could have different types of fonts that they're using for the strip. You're not feeling. Balanced. Okay, I could have done that a bit better, spaced that a bit better. But anyway, you get the idea. This is, and again, we'll have the look at that without the lines. So it makes it look interesting. It just this, especially the depth, and you can play with the tool too. Like let's just totally create a new layer here. Let's call it text 2. If you didn't like that particular way, you don't have to stay with that. You can do something totally different. So let's go to our brush tool again. Maybe we would like that mono line. That looks like that might be fun. Let's just bring back our lines here again, and let's type write something. Oh, a bit too big there. I got way too big there. And you have to, of course, play with your at the bottom tool here on the left is your opacity tool. So make sure it's right up to the top. And then for your brush width tool, you might have to adjust that here. Yeah, let's just make it a little bigger here. I like that. I really like that better than I did that other one. So I think I found a winner here. And you notice here how I'm kind of going up over the edge of the guide. And I found I would do that quite a bit when I was lettering the comics, and yeah, I even like that better. So it's a trial and error thing. You might find that other one that you were using might be better if let's see. Well, let's find another scripty tool here. So you might find the water pen or the script tool something for if you're doing flowery lettering, like a scripty type lettering where you're. No, you wouldn't. Maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong too. Anyway, let's try a different one. Blotchy. This could be interesting. Let's get this at a right distance here. So, I like. I like lettering. So that would be something you could use that for. Or another thing that might be fun is if you have a blackboard in your comic or something, and you could easily do that. This is something I always had fun with when I did comics, especially, and it was a lot of work again. But hey, who says that if we're in this to do work? Why not have fun with it? So let's maybe get rid of these two text windows and then create a new one. Okay, let's get rid of some of these other things here that we have that came up. Don't know why they did. And there's our window, and there's this again. So let's create a new layer where we're going to create a rectangle here. This could be like a blackboard, so we're going to create a new layer for that. I'll just call that blackboard. And then we're going to create a new layer. And this will be a white tool, and then we're going to begin to write on that. And hopefully using you can move this layer actually above that blackboard. I think we can. Let's try that. Move that layer up here, and then with your new layer here. So this is the one we're going to be using here. Let's call this blackboard. Or sorry, let's call BB letters. Lots of fun. Okay, so we're going to call this BB letters, and we're going to start to write here. Let's try this blotchy one because it looked a lot like blackboard. Let's move in here. Oh, let's make it a writing here, because this would be like we did in school. I will not chew gum in school. Yes, I think you get the idea there. Anyway, so, and then if you take this away, you get this very nice blackboard effect, which is pretty cool. And you can actually let's try it again. Let's even take out. Let's try it with our chalk. Makes sense. Why didn't I do that the first time? Good question, Jeff. Okay, let's try the in chalk here, and we'll crease here, and we'll try the next line. I will not chew gum in school. Let's reduce that a bit. Again, it's something to play with the width of the oh, I did it again. Way too thick. So again, it's a fine tuning thing. Once you get it going, though. Okay, I don't know how many of you go to school now, but this was something that was done in the day, where you would, you would have to do this. You would have to write lines on the blackboard, and actually a lot of blackboards back then had lines on them. So they would have like 50 lines on them, very similar to what I do now. I'm writing lines, not as a punishment factor, but I wrote lines when I was doing comic strips as well. So anyway, so that gives you a sense of lettering, and that would finish off your comic strip. And actually, when I did lettering, that would be the first thing I would do. I'd write the gag, do the lettering, and then draw it later. So that's just the way I was. But a lot of people think that's the finishing part of it. Okay, so now that we've done lettering, I'm just going to take these off our screen here. And so I wanted to get into the fine concepts of what you do when you've done your comic strips and you've got to keep going. And I wanted to, as I opened this up, I wanted to share a couple of stories about doing comics. Everybody seems to think that they can do it. It's an easy thing to do, and it's it's true. Everybody can sit down and draw a comic, but to do it year after year, day after day, month after month, as long as as it takes to do it, to be good at it, it requires a few skills to develop the skills and to make them better. Now, I work in a small office outside of my home. So, and what happens is now that I've got a published cartoon, a lot of people say, well, I can do what you do, and I can do it better. So, and that's fine. I've gone through this before, so I let them show me how much better they can be. And they tell a joke. They'll say, well, I could come up with a joke every day. So they come up with a joke every day, and some of them are quite funny, but after a while they get tired of it, and the jokes stop. They lose their resolve to keep doing it, and my point is that that's what happens. The resolve doesn't last forever. The desire to do it is like, it's certainly, that's great. They are funnier than me sometimes, and maybe most of the time, but what I do, I have to do it on a regular basis. So I have to figure out the tricks of the craft to keep going. So it's not so much that I'm a better humorist or a better anything. It's just that I've developed the skills to keep going and to not to not stop. So let's have a look at creative block and flow, and it's a very real thing. You may think you maybe never experienced it yet. Thank you. That you should be very thankful if you haven't, because everybody else has. The rest of us have gone through this. So I've created some ways of dealing with it, because it does happen. And even when people say I could write better jokes than you, and I'm funnier than you, and I can draw better cartoons than you, well, yes, that can grind you down too. So you just got to not let it bother you. Got to keep going. So let's go through my list of advice here. Relax. Don't sweat the small stuff. Just keep going. Just because somebody is better than you doesn't mean that it doesn't negate what you do. It just let it inspire you. Anything they do that's good, let all the good stuff inspire you. Let all the rest roll off. It should not be somebody better than somebody else. We're all pretty much the same, even though some of us have more money, some of us have more talent, some of us have more whatever. Some of us have less of it. That's not really the point. We're all pretty much the same. We're made out of the same stuff. I try to look at it this way. It's sometimes easy to get thinking that people are better than we are, and when we look around us, there will always be people better or worse off than we are, and we'll recognize that. So again, don't relax. Don't let that sort of thing bother you. Number 2, if you're finding it really hard to write, do something else for a while. There's a million things that you can do. What would you like to do? Maybe the point is not to press on it and to make it worse for yourself. Some of the things I like to do are recreational reading or studying. So I have a small library here in my home, and and of course we were just talking about libraries, what a great resource they are. If you're in a library, there's no end of material, reference material, source material for comedy or whatever you're doing, writing on any subject under the sun. And it's really a wonderful resource. And we should all be thankful to Andrew Carnegie for coming up with the idea of starting these libraries so that people in towns of any size across North America, at least, maybe around the world. I'm not sure how many he affected, but he was a steel mogul in Pennsylvania back in the day, and I know many local libraries were based on Carnegie grants in the day. So we should be thankful to our library systems. Recreational reading and studying, that's important. So just directionless play or doodling. My doodling pad gets a lot of work, and sometimes it gets more work when I'm having trouble with ideas. So don't discount that, and do it in your time. I know we all have to work and make a living, and that's very important. We all have other things that are tying us down with our time, so you don't have to ignore those things. But when the time comes and you can have the time to play and doodle, certainly sit down and make that a priority. This is something I do. Number 5, keep old sketchbooks for your reference material. And the reason being is that I didn't do this on purpose. This was just something that I remember doing when I would have trouble coming up with ideas. I would look through these old sketchbooks and thinking, oh boy, I used to have a lot of good ideas back then. And then sometimes I would get a fresh idea from an idea that was half baked in that one. So it's never a bad idea to just go through an old sketchbook and inspire yourself with your past doodles. You can pull out a gem or two. It's very true. One thing that I've learned to do is to call or text a creative friend, and this happens still today, where if I'm having trouble or just feel like I'm feeling down or something, commiserate maybe with person that's a creative person, and just, and you'll find quite often they're either going through the same thing at that very time, or they have just gone through something very similar, and it can open up channels of your creativity that way. And then number 7, create 1 through 6 as needed. And just don't give up. Just keep going. The biggest part is number 8. Adopt a marathon mindset over a sprinter mindset. I mean, we want to be fast. We want to be efficient, of course, and do it as fast as possible. But realize that it's a marathon. Really, develop that marathon mindset and realize that it's a long term. You're in it for the long term. There are times when you need the sprinter mindset, but if you're in this really dry spell, think of yourself as a marathon runner, and you're tired, but you still have to run the rest of the race. It's a good way to look at it. So let's have a look now at suggestions number 2. Now, I had as one of my examples in the previous one, do something else. And this is if you take this particular method here. Number 1, if you have a garden, work in the garden or work in somebody else's garden. It's outdoors. Being with nature can really help you to open your mind up, and especially I'm sure you're not doing it today with the rainy weather, but on a nice, warm, sunny summer day, which I hope we'll have lots more of in the next few weeks. Number 2, bake a cake. Okay, and I learned how to bake tea biscuits during a dry spell, which was great. And take a walk, run, ski, swim, skate. So something physical is helpful. It helps to get the brain, the cells working in the brain again. Never sell short at just a little physical activity. It can open up your, it's good for your body and it's good for your mind. It's really helps you to recreate. Recreate. The word recreate means to create again. So recreate means to create again. So you're building your whole body, and that's great. Great advice. Number 4, partake in another hobby. So, I assume you'd probably have another hobby to take up, or that you've taken up as well. Knitting, sewing, darts, kickboxing, collecting stamps, coins, etc. It doesn't have to be anything in particular. Sometimes just changing gears is a good break. A change is as good as a rest was an old saying that my farmer neighbors used to say back in the day. Anyway, add to your memoirs that you have experienced creator's block. So sometimes just writing it down, saying, today was March, or whatever today is. Today is June the 20-something, and I went through creator's block, and I had a rough time and really feeling down, but I'm going to take these steps to try to do something, and maybe I'll feel better. And just by writing it down, you'll feel better. And number 6 was one of the other ones, call another cartoonist or artist. Just chat, just kind of, how are you doing? How's it going? Sometimes when we take our mind off ourselves, it gives us refreshment there. So let's. So there's our examples there of what we could do. And let's just take that off and take a suggestion too. This is what the sketchbook. This was one of the things I talked about, an old sketchbook. This was from many, many years ago. And I did The Average Farm, and I was some really scrambly ideas, but I looked through these, and these actually had some really interesting concepts in them that I think I thought about at the time. Okay, I'm just going to open that again. I guess I'm not on there. I can open that. So these interesting concepts that I hadn't thought about back then, and I had this character called the Glort that you see here, and I had written a bunch of gags for him when I was working on him, and I actually had a syndicate very interested in it, but they felt later on that the character was a little limited because he was this blobby character, but what a lot of fun. I remember a teacher in college suggested I keep going with him. So anyway, there's an idea there. And, even looking at an old comic strip can inspire you different ideas. This is just recreational drawing, just doodling not really any direction here. My hockey players I used to draw to try to draw logos for hockey teams and whatever. So yeah, even just recreational drawing was some bad puns here to get out of my system. um, Herm Osgood, who was one of my characters in The Average Farm with a Bow Tie, I never saw him before, so it's fun to go back and look at this again because he never wore a suit or anything other than farm clothes. And so for inspiration, I have a collection of comics, and this is another great thing about libraries is that if you can't, this is my personal collection, but if you don't have books, the library is a great resource for books on comics and cartooning. And this is just a selection of what you can get. The Rejection Collection. This was a collection of comics that were of an artist that were rejected that he liked, and they were actually really good. And it was amazing to see them and to see why they were rejected. And so some of the reasons were just temporary, and some of the reasons were very valid too. But still very interesting. The comic book. I've been a student of the American comic book and the comic strip, and so a lot of these deal with that. The cartoon capers here, you'll see at the bottom, actually spoke a lot about Canadian animation, and it's a great book. And it talks about Atkinson Film Arts, where I worked in the 1980s on Teddy Ruxpin, and it actually shares some great anecdotes about that time during that era, and it talks about the ebb and flow of Canadian animation. So some great resources here that you can have at your fingertips in a library, or is a great resource. You don't, you just need a membership to go in and look at the resources, and there's no end of inspiration in these volumes, and then and just books in general. History books are amazing, with amazing stories of local towns, local areas. And at the top, I have Charlie Farquharson books, which have provided great inspiration. I remember sitting down and I was so depressed, frustrated, not being able to write a gag. And I sat down and read some Charlie Farquharson and enjoyed it very much. Don Heron, who's no longer with us, was the author, of course. So that's so just books, period. And I'm a person who is inspired by comedy on television, and Second City has inspired me a lot. I studied improv comedy at Second City for about a year, so that's obviously a great inspiration to me. Monty Python's Flying Circus, a great comedy show that's inspired me too. That I remember the first time I saw Monty Python, I just didn't really get it, but now I totally resonate with most of it. And then Roger Ramjet was a cartoon that inspired me a lot. And sometimes when I'm not getting gags out there, I'll sit down and watch a Roger Ramjet cartoon. And another thing I do is, I showed you this letter last week that Charles Schultz, it was a bit of a critique, but he was right. And I took it for what it was worth. And I tried to keep going with it and to make hay while the sun shone. And then fan letters, when you get fan letters, you want to keep on to them too. Let them inspire you. If you feel like I just lost it, I'm no good anymore, read your fan letters if you get them. And when you get your first one, you will probably frame it. It'll be a big deal to you. So yes, inspiration can come from anywhere. And when all else fails, just get out your sketch pad and keep sketching, and just doodle anything. And it doesn't matter what it is. It can be, I tend to just sit down and draw faces. I think we showed this a bit before. Yeah, just doodle. You've got all these wonderful tools to play with. You can just draw faces, emotions. let's just increase that a bit. Yeah, you can, always be ready with that. And even if it doesn't come out to be anything right now, it may develop into something. It just keep going with it. Never downplay the value of just doodling and sketching. It Yeah, I feel better already just doing that little bit of sketching there, and it's not to rocket science. This is um, yeah, change colors. Play with the tools. Play with the tools on your iPad. It can be you can find a yeah, and build layers. See what you can do by. This is what I did a long time when I was working first learning this and learning the different tools, the different tools, and using them for shading and lighting. Like it was a great deal of fun. See what they do. Create a lighting. Wow, that's amazing what it can do. And you can even change the color here, even add the, yeah, so many things it can do. And you can draw faces, you can draw backgrounds, you can draw cars. If you want to draw a car, for example, let your mind roam as you're doing it. You don't draw the same thing. Keep trying draw different things. Draw a car if you want to. Yeah, it can be. Anyway, the bottom line is to just not give up. Just keep going. Let your mind lead you, and maybe save your old iPad sketches. You can do that as well. You're going to look at it and say, "Well, that looks awful." Maybe that wasn't such a good idea, and that's okay too. That's what you're doing. It's not really going anywhere. You're kind of playing. You're kind of finding the what you're doing here. So basically, it's not about the destination. It is the journey. That is totally the journey, and this is what I hope this came out today. That you're that it's your journey that you're enjoying, and that it's all about where you're going, not getting there, because you'll probably never get there. You'll probably just be a little short of there, and it's fun because you'll have that experience from your journey to remember. And just bring my camera back on me again, and just wanted to say that. If I can help you at all, if you're getting into this situation where you've done everything you can and you're drying up, I can certainly help you as well, or Tom can help you with any of the technical stuff. But the biggest thing I could say is just don't give up. Just keep going and keep your spirits up. Keep thinking positively, and you'll work through it. And you'll have achieved something by doing that, because most people do not stick to it. And with that, I'm going to say thank you and turn it over to Tom.
Perfect. Thanks, Jeff. That was fantastic. Yeah. I'm just going to put up Jeff's email here. Jeff Wilson mentorship at gmail.com. So for this comic strip illustration masterclass, you can send Jeff, what you've been working on, your comic strips, your questions, and I put my email up in the chat as well. But it's tom@tbmcs.ca. So you can send me, an email if you're trying to figure out, hey, which library or what equipment is available where. Happy to talk that through as we get into some reopening. Again, there's the iMac. So if you want to, go and you can do drawing on the Affinity Designer and Affinity Photo, like Photoshop and Illustrator. They're like the same kind of software. So we have those loaded on all our iMacs. So each library, Blue Mountains Public Library, Collingwood Public Library, Wasaga Beach Public Library, you can go to those libraries and research, check things out, and take things out, and you can be on the same computer and access what the library has to offer right there, be all in the same spot. So just like Jeff said, you can the resource of finding reference materials, and it could be anything. Like I think that was a great conversation of history, fiction, other comics, encyclopedias, anything that's there, right? An article, anything can inspire. And libraries are great because you can go down an aisle and find 100 books at your fingertips, just like that. So, yeah, definitely. So I'm gonna just put a plug in. So Jeff's next session, masterclass, 2D animation techniques. So he alluded to that, but he's gonna talk about. It's gonna be a whole masterclass talking about how animation works and just the techniques of drawing, repeating, and frames, and that whole world in the 2D like hand drawn world and in Procreate. So that'll be really fun. So that's going to start July 10th. So if you go to our website now, you can sign up and go right to our upcoming workshop. Sign up. It's a 4-week session. If you just sign up and you can access the archival review, rewatch on Vimeo, so you don't have to necessarily even attend live, but live you can see it as we go and give questions and things. But as always, you can rewatch. So just make sure you sign up and then you get access to the link. So I just want to plug that. That starts July 10th. And just want to thank all our partners again, Canada Council for the Arts and all our libraries for getting this project to happen. These were the finishing touches. So I'll just throw it back to Jeff here. He can give a final goodbye for this session. And yeah, here we go. Here's Jeff.
Okay, well, thanks again, Tom, and thanks everybody for tuning in today. And yeah, the comic strip, of course, is my one of my favorite things to do, and I've gone through a lot with it. It is a scary thing when it's one of the few things where you're the you're the writer, the promoter, the sole performer, and you got to perform all the time, and it can be scary. So, but don't let that scare you. Just enjoy it. It's so many skills that come together. But it's so simple, and yet it's so simple. It's drawing on paper, creating it's like a film. It's like a yeah, it's everything, and it's life itself, down to its bare essentials, and just capturing it. So, realize what it is. It's a very simple thing, and yet it can be complex, but it is simple. It's you and that paper, and you have the power to do it, and you will do it. So just persist. Just don't give up, and don't let things snow you under. I know that's very tempting, but you have the power, and you just need to keep persisting at it. And I hope what I've helped with today will get you through those dry times. And thanks for watching.
Perfect.
Perfect.
Okay,
Okay,
so
so
thanks, Jeff. That's it for today's session and for this masterclass. Again, you can rewatch it. You have you're joining us on this with this digital link, so you can rewatch the session today. Just when we finish, you can go over things, and then you can go back to the previous weeks as well. So if you want to rewatch weeks 1 through 3, we're encourage you to do so. You can review and get in touch with Jeff and go from there. So we hope to see you. July 10th will be the next session start. Next week is the Canada Day weekend, so go out, enjoy some fresh air and summer fun, and then we'll see you guys back on July 10th. So thanks again for joining us, and have a great rest of the day. Take care.